I do day game a lot, and I usually go direct. So what I face a lot is the boyfriend objection. And if she really has a boyfriend and she's happy, I am not interested in that. But how do you tell if there's a token resistance that she still wants you to push through, or how do you tell if she's really happily in a relationship, doesn't want anything?
Okay, so he's asking. He does a lot of daytime dating where he meets girls in the daytime, and he gets the objection of, "Oh, I have a boyfriend." So, some girls that you'll meet will actually have a boyfriend, right? There's nothing you can really do about that. The other thing is, when you get that response, it says a lot about what it really means. For example, if you're talking to her for a very long time, you guys have a really good interaction going on, and as you go for the phone number, if she mentions that she has a boyfriend, that's more of what I call like a token resistance. That basically means to me, okay, this girl really likes me, but she wants to let me know that she is in a relationship, but she still wants to be pursued by you though. It's just like she will try to see how you respond to that. So if you get a response very late like that, that's actually not a bad thing. It's better if she doesn't even bring it up, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. So just keep in mind then when you text her, when you call her like that, you know there's like a different X factor in the background, right? Now, whereas if you approach early on and you start approaching and you start that conversation, she says, "I have a boyfriend," most of the time that's just like a flat out rejection. Most of the time it's just like, okay, I didn't like your approach. Most of the time I won't even bother then really pushing for it. Sometimes like I will if she's ridiculously like amazing, then I'll pull whole trickery out of my bag to overcome that. But most of the time, like that's just like a rejection. So you just you move on, go to the next girl.
Yeah. If it comes right off the opener, so you deliver your opener, she says, "No, I have a boyfriend." That's usually because she really does have a boyfriend. So my girlfriend does that all the time whenever guys approach. It's just a reflex. And that's because I'm thinking she's happy in her relationship. So it's also, even if you're super hot, it's also a way for her to protect herself from going too far with this new guy. And if you said you want to respect that those types of objections, those types of relationships, that's when to do it. However, and it's because, like you're saying, you're going direct. So if you get that right off the bat, then that's a flat-out rejection, saying that your opener was horrible. I don't even want to talk to you. But if you get it, like you were saying, in the middle and at the end, in bed or after sex, that also means discretion. Don't go telling people. They're different. Depending on when you get it, it can mean different things.
Yeah. Thank you.
The point that no shame.
Repetition.
Repetition.
Yeah, like you'll see if you do this enough, that feeling is not as bad as you think it is. Like you're not dying. Like emotionally, it might feel like that, but you're not. You're like after you get rejected, you're just like, oh wait, I'm still on this planet. I still got my arms, my fingers, my legs. You're fine, right? The other thing is that if you go out with your friends and you do it in front of them, there's a lot of pressure on you. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So go out with people here, or go out with people that know that what you're doing, and they're supportive of it, or go out by yourself. And by yourself is a little bit harder because you have to pump yourself up and really motivate yourself. Whereas if you go with someone else, that person can push you. So sometimes you'll go out with a friend and you're just like, wow, that girl's really hot, but maybe another time, then your friend can say, hey, you have to approach that girl. Like one thing we do, we have a game called Veto. So what we do is if we walk out with a bunch of us and we see like a really hot girl, and one of us says veto to my friend or whatever, then that means he has to approach her. If he doesn't, he gets a line in his eye as punishment. Right? So, like, if you ever had a lime in your eye, it really hurts. So, that will force you to approach, really hot girls. And like, if you want to get good at like approaching, you know, this is a really good way to push yourself with your friend.
Yeah, I like to use sports analogies too for this. Like something that's really painful is the first day back in the gym after 3 months off or something. It's gonna hurt, but after you keep doing it, your body adjusts. The only thing that's really depressing is when you see no change. Have you ever done that? Have you seen guys who go to the gym and then they don't push hard enough? And they do weight, it's comfortable, it's a little bit hurting at the end, and then they're done. And because you didn't rip any muscle, you see no change. You keep doing that for years. Sometimes if a guy just keeps going out and gets no results after a year of doing 1,000 approaches, there's something, you know, pretty early on you want to take a break and analyze what you've been doing to try to find the mistakes, and then hopefully get a coach, a professional. Sort of like I used to do weights since I was 14, and I really didn't see any growth until I finally put my foot down. I was like 29. I wanted to get good with girls. I hired a trainer who in Beijing was 100 RMB an hour, which is ridiculously cheap. Now he's charging like 900. And then he really pushed me. And at that point, I realized I had not actually been working out. I'd just been moving random stuff around. So that was a big thing. So if you get a coach who does this every day, day in, day out, and really pushes you, that can make a huge difference.
Yeah, just to go off of what he just said, like it's really important to once in a while review what you're doing, because especially if you're not seeing progress, it can be really depressing, man. Like it can really be hard on you if you don't see any results, even though you try really hard. And like I usually like to use the analogy of like sharpening a saw. Like if you just keep doing the what do you call it, sawing, yeah. If you just keep doing that over and over and over again, eventually your saw is not going to be as sharp anymore, and it's going to be really not as efficient. So once in a while you have to like sharpen it up and figure out, okay, how do I do this? How do I sharpen it? And same thing with your game. Like once in a while you got to think, okay, how do I improve my game at this point now? Like once in a while, maybe like once a month or maybe once every 2 months, figure out, okay, let me look at what I'm doing right now and see if I can make any improvements. Especially if you're not getting any results, you have to like sharpen the saw again.
Or if you want to get new results and pop up to the next level too, it's good to take a break and see if you can add new things to your repertoire, try out new styles. Okay.
I'll ask another one. So from your experiences in different countries, meeting different women, have you had to fine-tune, how you play the game here in Singapore? I mean, on your website you mentioned, the shy Singaporean girls, and how do you kind of navigate through that? Is there any advice you'd give us?
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, and you've been here for like 12 hours or something, so we can see what his immediate impressions are. I was really, really happy about moving here. I did a couple of boot camps here before I moved here, and I absolutely loved it. I met quite a lot of Singaporeans in China, many of whom were stewardesses on layovers and that sort of thing. So what was really cool was that we were able to relate to each other a lot more than in any other Asian country. So partly because of the Western influence, it's the strongest I've ever seen anywhere in Asia. Also because of the socioeconomic situation, which is pretty much on par with any other Western country. So immediately there was actually this cultural commonalities that helped out a lot. So in China, when I was meeting women there, I had to translate everything into Chinese. It took me over a year to get all that stuff done, and practicing it, and then just making it natural. But in Singapore, just as pretty much everywhere in Asia, if you are an Asian guy, which all of you guys are here, it looks like, when you do approaches, you should, so you talk specifically about shy girls, you should allow for that initial shock. I think even in the West, there'll be an initial shock. But they don't jump the way Asian girls do. Asian girls will literally leave the floor. They're like, whoa! And they'll look around like, because it's almost like approaching a 12-year-old girl in America. Because, unless she's been a girl guide who's used to approaching strangers, they're not used to interacting with people whose names they don't know yet. So it's a new thing for them. But so what I usually do is, one thing I learned in China, Japan, Korea is all the same. When they jump, you take a step back about the same distance. So they jump like this, you take a step back like that, and then you put your hands up, because this shows that you have no weapon in your, it's just like, hey, you're right? I didn't mean to scare you. So that's something you allow for. And then when she realizes this is totally stupid, that she's scared because it's bright daylight or whatever, you can then take the step forward and close that gap, and then continue like normal. It's actually, see, there are these little tweaks, like you're saying, but the tweaks make up about 2% or maybe 5% of what you're doing. It's something that you could adjust to within a week if language is not an issue. And if you're really good, because you've traveled in a lot of places, you pick these things up real quick, and you've done some background research, you can probably adjust within a few hours.
But you have to keep doing approaches. Another thing to add to that is, like you said, like if she really jumps, like you want to address it and be very respectful about that. And but an easy way to close the gap, because you don't want to stand too far. Like you said, you want to come in a little bit closer, is just by shaking her hand, right? Because that will, it's like a natural way of like getting closer a little bit, and then you can start, talking. But even if she doesn't shake it, like my experience in Thailand is a little bit different than the other guys. Is that some girls will not shake your hand, some girls will. But if she doesn't, then you just like stand a little bit closer. An easy way to do that is like in a V shape. It's like if you stand very frontal, it can be very territorial. Whereas you can stand close to someone, but whereas if you stand like in a V shape, even though I'm really close to David, it's not like confrontal, right? So you can stand like next to her like this and still talk to her.
Yeah, don't come straight on, because then she's naturally going to move back. Like if he and I were suddenly to face like this, that's really weird. But yeah, you can do a V. That's
not if
really
we're in Thailand. Then.
Oh yeah, that's right. Then there might be something else going on there. The other thing too is, in some countries there are just these cultural norms. Well, maybe not norms is not the right word, but etiquette. So in some places, like in Japan, actually, if you're a Westerner, if you're a white dude, they would just adjust for that, actually. So that's an advantage for guys who are obviously coming from a Western place. The Asians will adjust for that. So from what they know about Westerners, they'll try to accommodate your culture. But I have an Asian face, so they just assume I'm actually part of this, I'm a local, until I start talking. So one thing is, in Japan, the handshaking is not the common greeting, it's bowing. So it's just little things like you don't want to get too touchy-feely either. I got in China immediately, like in America, I immediately go in the back, small the back when I'm talking. And this is just, I just got used to it, just boom, there, as soon as I'm talking to her. But in China, I kept getting this. She's talking to me, she's smiling, she's pushing my, and then I'll just like, 2 seconds later, I just go back in. just like going back and forth like this. And I realized maybe she doesn't like that. And I had to adjust to the touching. But these are little things that you figure out pretty quickly.
Yeah. Any other questions?
What do you do when you enter a bar or a nightclub and your intention that night is to have fun, and you see a lot of pretty women, but then instantly you see a lot of dudes, all white dudes, and the next thing you have, you spotted one before you can make your approach, a white dude is already there. You spotted another one, a white dude is already there, and you spot the rest of the whole club, all the white dudes are already there. And it's like,
damn foreigners.
Colonialism all over again.
So do you leave? If you leave, you're just like, you're running away from the problem. Being yourself like,
yeah.
Yeah, you're giving their solution right there. Like,
you're expert.
Like if I see a lot of girls with guys, first thing I want to figure out is if they are actually together. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you can tell by the way they interact and the way they hold hands or something. Like, then it's pretty obvious. But if you're starting out and you can't tell the difference, it never hurts just to go in and start a conversation and figure out at some point what their relationship is. Because it might be her brother. You never know. It might be her uncle or whatever. So at some point you have to ask, okay, so how do you guys all know each other? And figure out what the dynamics are. So, you have to be confident enough to approach a group that has guys and girls in there, right? That's basically the key, being confident enough to do that. You'll notice, like, if you become confident enough in doing that, guys, like, they're just like, whoa, what is this? Like, some guys will just like completely shut up and let you do your thing. Some guys will get in their way, will cock block you, But if you treat the guy with respect, it's gonna be fine.
So we just want to thank Bonsai for coming to Singapore all the way here and answering all the questions. It's been awesome having you, man. Okay, so if you want to get in touch with Bonsai, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can all email me at bonsai@lovesystems.com. So it's BONSAI, Bonsai.
Sorry.
SAI at Love Systems. Love Systems. I also write a blog. It's called AsianDatingCoach.com. AsianDatingCoach.com.
I've got a link to it on the Asian Rake website as well, so you can find it.
So you can just contact me there. Email me if you have any questions, or you can always get in touch with him too. I love to stay in touch with everyone because I always like to hear what you guys like implemented of what I taught, or if you guys have any success stories, definitely let us know because I always like to hear that sort of thing. So let's stay in touch, okay?
All right. And I'm David Tian, our dating academy, or dating.com, and asianrake.com. All right. See you guys next time.